Hello all, welcome to this session. In this session, I'm going to answer one of the Java interview questions. That is, what are the differences between an interface and inheritance? Let me answer this question with theoretical and followed by practical demonstration. So, if you are working with Java, you would have heard the terms like interface and inheritance. Though here in is there, it doesn't mean they have to be exactly matchable or they can be comparable. They are very distinctive terms, guys. Okay, interface is something different and inheritance is something different. Here, while asking this question, interviewer is not expecting exactly from you to explain the difference between an interface and inheritance. Rather, the interviewer is trying to check your knowledge in Java, whether you know what is an interface and what is an inheritance, if you know or not. If you can explain what is an interface, what is an inheritance, then that's all, guys. Okay, you don't have to point out all the differences between interface and inheritance, in that manner, because it's kind of vague question where they don't have to be generally compared. You don't have to compare an interface and inheritance. But speaking wise, interface, inheritance, okay, in is coming. That's the reason they formed this kind of question, guys. But there are not that much differences between interface and inheritance. If you want to create, you can create the differences, but ultimately here the main point is the interviewer is trying to know how much you know about these concepts in Java. Okay, if you are able to explain the concepts, automatically we explain the differences also at later point of time. So let's get started, guys. Coming to the interface and inheritance, let me open this Paint software, and here in the Paint software, I'll write down interface this side, and other side I'll write down inheritance. Okay. So what is an interface? If you are able to explain, that's very good, guys. Okay. So what is an inheritance? If you explain, that is already good. Okay. You don't have to give the differences here initially. Start with explaining about interface followed by inheritance. That will be more than good. Okay. Interface is like a contract. Okay. You want to create a contract using which other classes can implement the methods. Okay. Interface is nothing but a contract, guys. Interface is nothing but a kind of contract where you just define the methods, but you won't implement them. You won't write the code inside the methods, but you just define the methods. Okay, but you won't implement the methods, the code inside the methods. So in Java programming, if you want to create a contract that other classes have to follow and implement, then in that case, you will just go and create something known as interface. How can you create an interface? There's a keyword in Java known as interface keyword, using which you can create an interface. For creating a class, we have the class keyword. For creating an interface, we have this kind of interface keyword. So interface followed by, you have to write like this, interface followed by interface name, whatever. For example, I'll give like bank as the name of the interface. Okay, like this, you have to create an interface, guys. Using the interface keyword, you have to give the name of the interface that you want to create. And inside this interface, okay, this interface will act like a contract, guys. Okay, a plan or something. Okay, a kind of contract otherwise, which only have the definitions. It will define. Okay, so for example, deposit money. If you say deposit money, okay, here the method will end like this with a semicolon. It will not have the method body, rather just definition will be there, guys. Okay, deposit money, whatever the modifier you want to give, public void deposit money, then public void, only definitions are there here. You see, it's not implementing any code for this particular method, rather it is stating that this particular contract, okay, who are the classes who are going to implement this particular interface have to write the code for this particular defined methods, because interface is a contract that every other class which becomes a child class of this interface has to implement this particular methods. Okay, whatever the contract you sign, you have to follow that rules, right? Like that. Okay, It's a contract kind of stuff. Interface is nothing but a kind of contract where you just define the methods, but you won't implement the code inside the methods. Okay, you just define the methods, guys. That's it. Okay, withdraw money. Like the bank will have a lot of stuff, guys, like transfer money, withdraw money, open account, close account, many other only definitions will be there. But here you will not write how to deposit the money, how to withdraw the money. Okay, it only is a contract, guys. It's only is a contract. This is a contract if a particular class, okay, implements this particular bank interface, a contract. For example, there is a class like HDFC class, okay, which implements using the implements keyword. HDFC implements this bank interface. Let's say, okay, HDFC class implements this bank interface. Okay, this is called as inheritance now. In interface, we are using the inheritance concept. Okay, HDFC is a class which is implementing the bank interface. That means HDFC is a child class of the bank interface. So all the methods which are defined in the contract, that is a bank interface, has to be implemented here. Here, actual code need to be written. Code need to be written. Code need to be written for deposit money, withdraw money, transfer money, whatever the methods. Okay, code need to be written here. Okay, so interface will act like a contract. Okay, that its child classes. If you talk about the here HDFC is a child class of bank, the relation is nothing but the inheritance case. Okay, if there is some class which is implements the bank interface, which is a contract. Here HDFC bank is a child class of the bank interface. Here we have the inheritance concept coming in. They are somewhere connected, guys. Okay, but here at a high level, interface is all about an OOPS concept known as abstraction. Abstraction OOPS concept. That means you're only giving a contract, and the low level implementation of this particular methods will be done by its child classes. Okay, that is what is called as abstraction. When you see a car, guys, when you see a car, do you see the engine directly? No, you'll see the steering, you will see all the colors of the car, you will see the gear, you will see the gearbox, you will see the clutch, accelerator, brake, everything you will see. Seats you will see, tires you will see, everything, but you will not see the internal working of the engine. That internal complexity is hidden from you with the help of abstraction concept. That is possible with the help of interface. Okay, so here bank is like it's just defining the stuff how a bank should work like. Okay, how exactly a bank should look like. A small definition is being given here as a contract. But the real banks like HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, SBI Bank, or any other bank have to implement the process. If someone has to deposit the money, what is the process in the HDFC Bank? If someone has to withdraw the money from ICICI Bank, how they have to go and withdraw the money? They have to go to the ATM of the bank, or they want to go inside the bank and give a check and then receive the withdrawal amount or whatever it is. Okay, that exact process, that implementation of the actual contract. Okay, whatever that is specified in the contract will be implemented by the individual bank classes, for example. Okay, so this is what is an interface, guys. It actually works toward the abstraction OOPS concept. There are many OOPS concepts. Abstraction is one of the OOPS concept where interface is all about. So whenever you are explaining about interface, explain about abstraction, where by defining the methods, by creating this kind of interface contract, okay, all the methods, all the child classes which are implementing this interface have to actually implement the real implementation of how the depositing of money should happen, how the withdrawing of the money should happen, but it's only contract or definition or defining the stuff, okay, in the interface. Okay, interface with the help of inheritance is able to achieve the implementation for these methods. Okay, this kind of explanation you should give, guys. If you don't know the knowledge of what is an interface, what is an inheritance, hundreds of questions will come like this, guys. If you're good with Java, you can answer any type of question just by giving the explanations. That's it. At a high level, if I have to compare the interface with inheritance, right? Here, inheritance is all about inheritance OOPS concept only. Inheritance is nothing but a OOPS concept. Okay, we are comparing the interface which is following the abstraction OOPS concept with the inheritance OOPS concept. Here, inheritance is all about OOPS concept where the child classes acquires the properties, that is methods and variables. Okay, properties means the variables and methods of. Okay, properties means variables and methods. Child classes acquires the properties of parent classes or interfaces. Okay, or interface. Again, you see interfaces word came here. They are somewhere connected, guys. Child classes acquires the properties of parent classes or interfaces, guys. It's all about inheritance OOPS concept. This interface is about abstraction OOPS concept, hiding the details from the high level to the low level. Complexity will be taken down to the low levels. Okay, that is the abstraction OOPS concept that is possible with the help of interface. Whereas inheritance is all about making the child classes inheriting the properties from their parent classes are interfaces. That means your father may have a house, okay? Your father may have some, you will get you get your genes from your parents, you get your finances from your parents. Yeah, you get a lot of other things, okay? The way you behave or the way you spend the money, the kind of behavior, psychological aspects or health aspects or financial aspects, most of the things you will come they will come to you from your parents or grandparents, okay, you came from, okay. So that process is nothing but inheritance, guys. That is called as inheritance. While the property is inherited by your children or grandchildren, that is inheritance. Or whether your health is inherited, okay, if your parents have some kind of problems, okay, you may also get some similar kind of problems according to the genetics and all those stuff, okay. So this is called as inheritance, guys. But why we use inheritance in Java programming? There may be some situations where you may have multiple classes, guys. There may be multiple classes, even though the concept is like this. But ultimately, why we have to go for inheritance is, let's say there are multiple classes, they have the same variables. You created the same variables and same methods, same variable and same methods, okay? Same variables and same methods in all these multiple classes. Are you duplicating the variables and methods across multiple classes? Yes. In such kind of situations, when there are multiple classes having the same variables and methods created, what you can simply do is you create a parent class or interface and create that particular duplicated variable and method across all these classes. Okay, in this particular duplicate variables and methods, you move to the parent class and make this child classes of this particular parent class or interface. So what happens? I don't have to recreate this. I don't have to recreate these variables and methods here, because these child classes will inherit the properties from the parent class to reduce to achieve reusability in real time. Why we go for inheritance? Even though definition looks like child class acquires the properties of the parent class or interface, but why we go for inheritance? To achieve reusability. If you remove the duplication of the code and encourage reusability, where the same variables and methods are reused by all these classes instead of they creating again and again duplicate versions of them again and again in the multiple classes. That's why we have to go for reusability, guys. That's possible with the help of inheritance concept. Okay, so for a particular child class, to inherit the properties of the parent class, if this is a child class and this is a parent class, then we have to use a keyword known as extends keyword. Whereas a particular class, if this is an interface, let's say if this is an interface, if a child class has to inherit the properties of the interface, in that case, we have to use implements keyword. And coming to the inheritance, multiple inheritance is possible if the parent is an interface, guys. Okay, that means this multiple classes. That means there can be multiple interfaces a child class can inherit from. A single child class can have multiple parent interfaces, but a single child class cannot have multiple parent classes. Okay, like that, many things are there, guys. If I keep on speaking, I can give a lot of answer for this question. So here again, again and again, I'm saying that here the interviewer is not exactly expecting you to give the difference between interface and inheritance. If you do so with your extreme knowledge, if you can do so that it is about abstraction, this is about inheritance, there is a line, interface is connected with inheritance and inheritance is connected with interface. If you can give that all this explanation, all the definitions of the interface, what is the purpose of the interface, what is the purpose of the inheritance, if you can give, that's all very good, guys. Okay, try your level best in explaining as much as possible. The question here is not about giving the differences. The thing here is not about giving the differences, rather how much knowledge you can prove that to the interviewer, how much knowledge you have on this interface and inheritance. If you can showcase to the interviewer, then you have achieved answering this particular question. Okay, so that is what is the difference between an interface and inheritance theoretically, guys. Okay, practically it will take a lot of time if I have to do, but I'll show you some sample examples of how to use you know interfaces and inheritance concept. I told you, right, interfaces are all about the abstraction concept, hiding the complex details at the lower levels. Okay, so first of all, I'll create an interface, guys. Right click new in the Eclipse IDE, right click on the package, select new, and instead of selecting the class, you select an interface. An interface will be created. Give some name for the interface. Let's say bank interface only I'll create. Click on finish. So in this bank interface, all the methods in the interface are by default abstract type. Okay. All the methods that you create inside the bank interface are actually aimed for abstract type case. Okay. By default, general methods that you create inside the bank interface are abstract type. That is, if you try to create the body for the methods, general methods I'm talking about, there are some special methods like private, default, and static kind of methods which can have the body still. But here I'm talking about the normal methods. If you're trying to create a normal method like deposit money, public void deposit money, and try to create the body for that, you will immediately get an error saying that this particular method is an abstract method. Abstract methods do not. That means by default, even though you don't specify any abstract modifier here, by default, the methods inside the interface are by default abstract type, and we should not be able to specify the body. So no matter how many methods you create here, if they are not private methods, if they are not static methods, if they are not default methods, they have to be abstract methods only. Okay, you can create any number of. Here you see interface you are creating with an intention of creating a contract, guys. You are just defining the stuff, but you are not implementing how to deposit, how to withdraw the money, etc. Okay, and for example, I'm taking only these two methods. And what about the variables inside the interface, guys? If you talk about the variables inside the interface, variables inside the interface are by default static and final type. They belong to the interface memory, and also they are final type. You have to initialize the value to the variables here itself when you declare, and also those values, initialized values, cannot be updatable. They're constant, simple words. Okay. So here I'll write string. Here I'll write account type 1 is equal to. If I write something like this, you see already error is saying that you have to initialize it. It's because it's static and final by default. Fine. If it is final, right, you have to initialize it here. Otherwise, it will, it will give you the error. And you cannot update this value, guys, because it's of static and final by default. You cannot update the value of this particular initialized value of this particular variable. You can create any number of variables, guys. Another variable I'll create account. They act like constants, guys, and they belong to the interface memory. So whenever you want to access these variables of the interface, you have to use the name of the interface to access, because they are of static type also. Okay, not only final type, they are also static type also. So variables by default, the variables inside the interface are static and final by default, and the methods by default, normal general methods apart from the private, static, and default methods, they are abstract methods by default. Only definition will be there for the methods. Okay. So who has to implement this particular method? The child classes of the interface have to implement this, act like a contract, and who has to implement the methods? For example, if I create a method like class, who has to implement this particular methods? If I create a class like HDFC Bank, okay, and if I have to make this HDFC Bank a child class of this bank interface, I have to use a keyword known as implements keyword, implements bank, I would say. Now error is coming because all the unimplemented methods, all the abstract methods from the parent interface need to be implemented by the HDFC Bank. Over the mouse, add unimplemented methods. Both the methods like deposit money will come with a body. Okay. Here you can write implement money deposited in HDFC Bank. Here you can write system.out.println money withdrawn from HDFC Bank. Like that, you can have any number of abstract methods, all the abstract methods that are there in the parent interface. And for this parent interface, if you create a child class, that child class has to implement all the actual implementation is not there in the interface, guys. Actual implementation is done by the child classes. Okay. If you want to make a particular class, a child class of the bank interface or any other interface, you have to use implements keyword again. Here to create the interface, we are using interface keyword. To make a class, a child of the parent interface, you have to use implements keyword. Some keywords you have to remember, guys. Okay. Now, is the HDFC Bank only the class that has to implement the interface? No, guys. There can be any number of classes. You can create ICICI Bank. You can create SBI Bank class. ICICI Bank implements bank class. SBI Bank implements bank. Like that, multiple classes can use the same contract and implement their give their own implementation or their own version of implementation for this particular methods according to their own bank's rules and policies. For example, as per this example. Okay. Hope you got some idea about the interface. Now let me talk about the inheritance. In inheritance, guys, for example, I create a class, let's say animal class. I'll create animal class, click on finish. In what generally the animal will contain. Okay. So if you want to create multiple classes like class, let's say dog, class dog, and what is a dog? Here if you write string animal type is equal to string animal type you're creating, and what are the properties generally, okay? Int eyes count, how many eyes are there for this animal, int legs count, okay, like that. Multiple variables you are creating, guys. Again, you can create some method also. Public void eat method you can write system.out.println dog is eating, and here you will write public void, otherwise simply write eating, guys. Okay, otherwise you'll get confused. Okay, public void sleep. If you write sleep, system.out.println, just print out sleeping. Now if you create one more class, guys, if you create one more class, let's say if you create one more class, that is class cat. If I create, again I'll create the same variables and methods. Okay, for cat also the same variables and methods I'll duplicate. Now assume that similar to dog, similar to cat, there's one more thing like butterfly, there's something like rabbit, okay, there's something like goat, okay, there is something like hen, buffalo, cow, okay, tiger, lion, giraffe. Many things are there. For every animal, if you are creating the class and the same variables and methods you are duplicating here, that's not a good process, guys. Rather, what you can do is you can create a parent class like this public class animal, okay, and take all these variables and methods to that particular class. And for remaining things, you can make this dog extends animal. You don't have to write the variables, same variables and methods again. Here also you can remove the duplicates by making this cat also extends animal. Okay, like this, guys. Like this you can write. So this is what is the advantage of the inheritance, guys, to remove the reusability, to remove the duplication of the code and to encourage the reusability. We create the inheritance concept. So a single class can only become a child class of only one class, guys. It cannot become a child class of multiple classes, but it's an interface, but a class can become a child class of multiple interfaces. Okay, so a lot of knowledge is there here. You see, a single class have a single parent class. A single class can have single parent class, but if this particular class want to become a child of multiple parents, then that parent should be interfaces only. In case of multiple means here animal comma some other thing. For example, animal comma some other thing is there. Multiple interfaces, the inheritance is possible for the classes. A class can inherit multiple interfaces, but a class cannot inherit multiple classes. Only single class can be a parent of a child class, but but multiple parent interfaces can be the parent of the single child class. Okay, so like that, lot of things are there, guys. If you want to dig deep, right, to understand the differences between interface and inheritance, they are both connected at some point of time, and explain the concepts, explain which object oriented concepts they belong to and they support and how they are connected, what are all the things, what are all the knowledge that you have on the interface, you explain whatever the knowledge you have about the interface. Inheritance you explain in your own way. What is the purpose of the interface, you can explain. What is the purpose of the inheritance, you can explain. Why we have to go for interface, why we have to go with inheritance. In inheritance, what is the role of the interface? In inheritance, what is the role of the class? Is multiple inheritance possible for interfaces? Is multiple inheritance possible for the classes? Lot of things will keep coming, guys. Okay, whatever that you have, you just keep explaining to the interviewer, so that finally the interviewer will understand that okay, these guys know about this guy know about knows about this interface and inheritance, and will be okay with your knowledge. Okay, so that's what is the answer for this question, guys. With theoretical explanation and practical demonstration, I've answered this question for you just to have a small final roundup. You see, interface purpose. An interface is like a contract. It tells a class what methods it must have, but not how to do them. Okay, okay. It will definition will not be there, but implementation. Okay, what a child class should and must have, it will, but how to do them have to be decided by the child classes only. Okay, if the HDFC bank is there, how to deposit the money, it will not tell. The parent class will not tell. Okay, parent interface will not tell. Parent interface only will define you have to deposit the money, you have to withdraw the money, but it will not tell how to deposit the money, how to withdraw the money, it will not tell. That's kind of, it acts like contract only, a kind of design or template or definition or something that the child classes have to follow and implement, have their own implementation. Every child class, HDFC Bank way of depositing the money will be different from the ICICI way of depositing the money. You can see that, right? That kind of contract can be created, but how to implement will not be given by the interface. The child classes have to follow their own process and rules. According to their rules and processes, they have to implement the abstract methods that are inherited from the interface, okay, their parent interface. The concept interface is all about OOPS concept known as abstraction, where complex things will be hidden from the visibility. So if you see a car, I told you, right, the complex thing is like engine, clutches, how the clutch will work inside, how the engine will work, okay, how the AC cooling system internally will work. Everything will not be visible to you, but ultimately you can see only the dashboard of the car, you can see the color of the car, the lighting of the car, and the tires and steering and all the other stuff, seats and all the stuff. But ultimately internal working is hidden from you. That is called as abstraction. And interface, if you want to create an interface, right, you have to use interface keyword followed by the interface name, like the interface bank. Okay, let's say methods in interface are abstract by default. Apart from that, there are other methods in interface starting from Java 8 onwards, they got introduced. Okay, starting from Java 8, after from Java 8 onwards, they got introduced, like default methods inside the interface. They can have the method body. Private methods inside the interface can have the method body having some code implementation, and this static methods can have the method body. So there is a purpose why they came up, and we don't have to explain as part of this question anyhow. So variables inside the interface are static and final by default, whose they belong to the interface memory, and also they to access them you have to use the interface name. At same time, the value need to be initialized in the same line. You have declared the variables because they are final type, and also the value that is initialized cannot be updatable. Okay, there are no instance variables inside an interface, guys. You cannot create instance variable, but in inheritance you can inherit the instance variables. Okay, small differences I'm picking up here. Inheritance is all about the inheritance OOPS concept, where your child classes are inheriting the properties from the parent classes are interfaces also. Okay, a single class can inherit the properties from multiple inheritance, but a single child class cannot inherit the properties from multiple classes. Only one parent class can be there, but multiple parent interfaces can be there. Okay, and the purpose of the inheritance is about reusability. To reduce the duplication of the code across multiple child classes, a single parent class will be created, and all these child classes will inherit the properties from the single class. That's where reusability will come into picture. We have to either use extends keyword if you want to make a particular class a child class of the parent class, okay, or you have to use implements keyword if you want to make a particular class a child class of the parent interface. Okay, a class can implement multiple interfaces, but a class can only inherit one super class, one parent class only, but multiple interfaces can be inherited. So all this is just a wind up kind of thing. As a conclusion, I'm reading all this stuff, guys. Okay, if you're able to answer all these things as part of the question for this interview, if you get this question in the interview, then you are good to go, guys. You don't have to worry much. Okay, whatever I explained in this as an answer for this question in this video, you are able to explain to the interviewer. You are good enough. Okay, you are good enough, guys. Okay, fine. So that's all for this session, guys. Hope you got the answer for this question. Thank you. Bye bye.